Welcome to the October 8th, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, Vice the Bold. Oh no, I read the show notes too literally, but I'm Lotus Prince. Vice cannot be with us today, and this is...
Vice the Bold.
Oh my god! Welcome back, Vice the Bold.
He's the Vice the Bold.
Yeah, you came back more quickly than I thought you did. I thought I fired you.
This is Dracologist. Vice was delicious.
Oh, but oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
And
well,
how as it goes, and they're gonna eat me.
Maybe I think I should sign off. Yeah, they're eating him, and then they're gonna eat me. Ugh, what a great movie! Right. Remember that time the secret was Nilbog being goblin backward? It was good times.
No. I didn't watch too much shock movies.
Anyway, yeah, you actually should. It's like The Room before The Room. It's like a good, bad movie. But anyway, we have a bunch of interesting news for you this time on Reactive. The first one is a bit of sad news with a bit of an upward tick, I think, but then just sort of a baffling phrase to come with it. You may have heard of the Mario and Luigi games. I don't mean Super Mario Brothers. I mean the games that are called Mario and Luigi, the RPG series, like Partners in Time.
I heard.
Yeah, they're quite popular on the Game Boy Advance and the
adventure
DS.
Games.
Yeah. So their developer, Alpha Dream, has unfortunately fired. Oh no, they have filed for bankruptcy, which is a damn shame, because they've been doing this, like they've been making these games for quite some while. Like I said, since I think the GBA, and that was the GameCube era. That was 2 console generations ago. But according to the source I'm checking, it says that this was because of poor revenues and the recent high costs of development, among other reasons. And, it's just too bad. It said that they got an income annually of around 300 million yen in the fiscal year for March 2014, but they have not since been able to keep up with development costs and poor income, according to Silicon Era. And it said by March 2018, they were in debt by over 465 million yen. Like, that is...
Ouch.
That is difficult to keep up with. That's brutal.
Although, what was that amount again?
The amount they were in debt by, 465 million.
Because if I know yen is a little bit inflated at the moment, I'm just thinking of how much that's in dollars. Like,
what does it translate to? I mean, usually I think a safe bet is to just take away a 0.
Or 2.
Yeah, but it's like approximately. Now the slight uptick, unfortunately not for Alpha Dream, but rather for Mario and Luigi, is that the game rights have gone on to Nintendo, so I believe the game will still be accessible, but you get sort of a funny phrase out of this, which is, finally, Nintendo owns the rights to Mario and Luigi. It just feels weird to say. It's been a long time coming, but Nintendo owns Mario and Luigi. There's all sorts of... Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of weird little stuff like that. Like, I was having a discussion with Vice the Bold about why certain games are available on PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, digitally, and some aren't. Because I've been on a From Software kick lately, and the Kingsfield games are not available digitally, even though there are, I think, a little more well-known than Shadow Tower. Shadow Tower is a quite expensive game if you want to go out and buy a physical copy, but last I checked, it was on PlayStation Network for a few bucks. So what's that all about? And Vice had told me that with the Kingsfield games, they're all FromSoft, but different companies, I think, published them. So this is a case of, Nintendo, obviously, they own the characters Mario and Luigi, but there's like the quirk about this game, Mario and Luigi. I don't know. So I guess if you ever do see these re-released, get used to a different logo on them, I suppose. But it is at least nice that they should still be available. Kind of like what Vice mentioned for the Sherlock Holmes games last week, where the developer is, I think, Frogware, but Focus, the company that publishes them, was withholding them, but things have since changed, and now you can get the games under Frogware rather than Focus.
Frogware is the one that lately made Thinking City, right?
Oh, was that the one? It might have been. But they were doing some like Sherlock Holmes PC games as well. Let me see. Frogware. It looks like they did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I heard that they decided to stick away from Sherlock Holmes and make a Lovecraftian. What I heard, it's a decent game, if a little bit awkward with everything else that is not the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I heard about the previous Call of Cthulhu game, even though I think that was made by a different developer. It's like, okay.
I think that was like very inactive, like it was few steps above a walking simulator.
Yeah.
But this one was like more exploration, proper combat, little bit crafting, little bit upgrading.
That's fair enough.
It was just a little bit clumsy.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a Lovecraft game if it weren't somewhat clumsy. Although I guess there are some point and clicks, so maybe never mind. But I mean, even what is arguably the best Call of Cthulhu game...
When do we get a remake of Shadow of the Comet and Is Prisoner of Ice?
Yeah, right. That'd be interesting. That's one of those. Was that the point and click?
Yes, both point and click, a sequel to each other. Or at least tied to each other.
Yeah, I should look into those at some point. But what I was going to say was that, like, even what is generally regarded as the best Lovecraft game, Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, it still has some jank, and it just turns into an FPS after a point. Like, the beginning of the game is easily the best, and then it's still fun, but it doesn't... You know, if you think I could kick everyone's ass here, then it's not quite Lovecraftian.
I still say that even if not directly, but Amnesia is a really good Lovecraftian game. Even Undying is a good Lovecraftian game.
Undying was damn good. Yeah, if you want to talk about Lovecraft that isn't officially Lovecraft, Undying and Eternal Darkness were quite good. And Undying did a pretty good job. Like, because it wasn't called Lovecraftian, it got away with being more of a straight-up FPS, but it still had stuff that you're not really supposed to fight against.
It balanced out action with the fact that you were very fragile.
Oh, yeah, and you had the interesting magic stuff, too, where you could just change the combat around. And in Eternal Darkness, again, it's not Lovecraftian in name, but it definitely felt accurate to what Lovecraft would be, in that there are a couple of weird creatures you can kill, but the big stuff you never even try to fight. It's like the end of the first Hellboy movie, the one with Ron Perlman, where this was something... The ending of Hellboy 1, not like the literal end of the movie, but the ending, like the big climax, made me so happy, because so many movies, and even so many games, you know, there's this big thing coming at the end. Wait until you see the spectacle. Get a load of what I wrote into this movie, or what I programmed into this game. It's going to blow your mind. But at the end of Hellboy, it's like, uh-oh, this big Cthulhu-style creature's coming in, and clouds open up, and you see a couple of tentacles coming through. You don't see the whole creature, you just see a tentacle or two, and you're like, oh, I don't want that in here. And then they seal it up, and it doesn't actually come out, so you don't see what it was. It's just like, you know it wouldn't have been good. And I'm very pleased that they showed without really showing. Like, whatever you thought of is probably scarier than whatever they would have put to screen. So good on them.
Well, the most you can do with the cosmic gods is to slam the door into their face.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Eternal Darkness. Like, don't let them out; you're gonna freaking die.
Incidentally, there's one of the games that Yahtzee made, Consuming Shadows, is very similar. It's a roguelite.
Okay.
Where you basically do it's your job to stop a god invading.
Yeah.
And it's kind of complex and it's difficult, but apparently, once you get the upgrades, it starts to get a little bit easier. Anyway,
you know what I'm also reminded of a little bit, actually, is the Arkham Horror board game. There are a few versions of it. The previous version was all about stopping whatever god from coming out, and if it does, you can fight it, But like it is possible to win, but you probably won't. You require the most ridiculous die rolls and just BS combinations and luck on your side when it attacks, to the point where it's probably just not going to work. But in the current version of Arkham Horror, if you fail to pass certain scenarios, then like it's just straight up game over with incredibly interesting flavor text. I quite like it.
But there's a few interesting games.
Yeah, like, it's very entertaining.
World of Horror is coming out on Steam, which is like Lovecraftian horror on a sort of what was that game you played on where the skeleton lady pulls out your intestines?
Oh wow! Pulls out your
visitor. What Uninvited?
Oh, that, yeah, just like the old 8-bit adventure like Nintendo game. Yeah, where it's like she tears off your skin and you're like, what? It's all text.
So that Uninvited, a Lovecraft, and everyone's favorite Japanese spiral maniac Junji Ito.
What a freaking hero, man. Junji Ito. I relatively recently read Uzumaki at long last, and it delivered. It sure did.
Yep.
That was an interesting story because it's another one of those things where, like, what do you do about it? Like,
well,
you deal with it.
Honestly, when a little bit of spoiler, but on one of the episodes, if an acquaintance of mine would have his head imploded into a spiral and disappear into the ground, I would pack up my shit and leave.
Yeah, that's true, but like later on in Uzumaki, it became apparent that leaving was just not an option. Although I think they waited too long.
I'm fairly sure because this is I don't know what is it called, what could it be or what it could be called, but there is a sort of topic or sort of this thing when someone who is clearly in danger doesn't leave because the plot demands it.
Oh, like the name of that trope or whatever. Like anyone would have just packed up and left. Like it's like you know in
There is a more similar Junji, like a short story by Junji Ito called Mold, where it's literally like you could leave your house, but no, your house is your pride.
Okay.
No, and the guy gets rotten away in his own house.
Yeah, I haven't read that one.
There is a lot.
Yeah, Junji Ito's definitely done tons of stuff. I've read 3 of his big ones, Uzumaki, Gyo, and Tomie. And of those...
Tomie is more like a collection of different stories and not a stringed up story.
No, that's true. It's a collection of stuff with Tomie.
Like, I was thinking, why nobody tried to burn the witch?
That's it.
Like, cutting up doesn't work, try to burn her. Incinerate, complete incinerate. I think she doesn't recover from complete incineration.
That's possible. I don't know. But in any case, should move on a little bit. I let myself get distracted because I love me some Lovecraft and I love me some Junji Ito. But in any case... I'm sorry?
We love some horror.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, about the Nintendo Mario thing, just wanted to say that I know the games. I never played one, but I watched almost all of them walkthroughs. Does this include the Paper Mario games, by the way?
I don't think so. Paper Mario in Japan is called Super Mario RPG 2, I believe. I don't believe that's the Alpha Dreams thing. Yeah.
Regardless, the adventure the adventure games had a lot of personality, and now that the Nintendo has them, I don't know it's going to stay.
That is true. Like Super Mario RPG had ludicrous amounts of personality, but it was like also Square Enix. So, like, I don't know. Because Nintendo is very, like, pure with... I mean, not necessarily the types of games Mario's in, because he's in, like, 2D, 3D. But, like, there isn't dialogue, with a lot of their games. It's just kind of like... It's almost like the old Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like, look at Mario in this adventure. It's just like they're all, like, very episodic.
I know that most of the time he just like does a pose and makes a sound, and like that considered the answer or a conversation piece.
Actually, that reminds me.
His thoughts are basically spelled out by the other characters.
No, that actually reminds me. There was one thing that was really funny. I played through I forgot what it's called, Mario Tennis like Pro Tour or something, the Game Boy Advance Mario Tennis, and it just really amused me because you play as just original characters, just a human boy or a human girl in the game. I mean, you can play as anybody multiplayer, but if you want to go through the campaign, it's like your journey through this tennis school and competitions against other schools. But what's funny is that toward the end, you get to meet Mario himself. Wow! Like, hi, Mario, I can't believe it's you. And he actually has text boxes, but they're all what Charles Martinet said in Mario 64. So he would be like, yippee, like, wahoo. It was like the funniest thing to me. So when he finally talks, it's stuff you've already heard. It would be like if Link had a text box and it just says, like, yeah, like, or something like that. It was amazing.
Nintendo likes their silent protagonists.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Like, oh, what is he going to say? Like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Everybody talks about Mario. I don't know. But in any case, regarding upcoming releases, Sega Age's Columns 2 and Ichidant R come out on October 17th. So Columns 2, it says that, again, I'm talking about Silicon Era's article here, it says it's been released for the Switch as part of the Sega Ages line for a while, but and Ichidant R are joining, like, was released like last month, but that's in the East, so now it'll be coming out in the West, which is pretty cool. And it says for Columns 2, it's going to get, like, infinite columns mode and online verses. So there's an old, I think, Sega Genesis game that you could do online verses with. And Ichidant R, it says it includes the rare English arcade release of the title, and the arcade and Mega Drive version's RPG-style mode. And the arcade mode will have online multiplayer as well. So that's pretty cool. I mean, like, I never got into that kind of game, but that's interesting, and it's cool that they're bringing it over.
I know Columns is one of those color matching Tetris clones where you have 3 colors and you can cycle the colors.
Yeah.
It's like Puyo Puyo, but instead of rotating 2, you have 3 and you can't rotate it, you just cycle the colors, if I'm correct.
I believe so, yeah. I think I saw
Columns I do not know the
1.
other game from the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the game playing it, but, like, I remember it was on, like, the old Sega 6-pack collection with, like, Streets of Rage 1, Golden Axe, Sonic 1, I think, Revenge of Shinobi, so it's pretty cool. Like, also Columns, why not? I remember, though, Columns 3 on the Genesis, like, we talked about this a few weeks ago on, I think it was Reactive, but Columns 3 supports a ridiculous 5-player multiplayer mode, where it's just everyone has their own section of the screen, which is just like, damn.
Okay. Again, like, I think at one point my brother tried to write a Tetris game for like 8-player. It's almost worked. It was just very difficult to really have 8 hands on one keyboard.
Oh, it's madness. I remember stuff, even like playing on emulators, if you play like a 2-player fighting game or something, even then having just 2 players on the keyboard is a little tight.
I know that, like, there is a little like freeware fighting sort of. It's a combination of fight versus fighting game and like beat 'em up games. It's a hybrid called Little Fighters. If you know that.
My god, I remember that. That was when I was in like high school or college or something.
Yup. I even know the all character code for it.
Yeah, I think my brother used that back in the day. The top characters were like J names. Like number 2, the most badass was Justin. Number 1, most
Justin
badass was Julian. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can pretty much like that. Those were the boss characters, and it was fun to use them as like. And that game, like, that's also supported 4-player co-op, and you can also could configure the keyboard to have like 4-player on keyboard.
That's cool. Again, physically sitting next to each other would be tough, but if you only have a couple buttons each, at least your hands can make it work.
I do remember playing like 3-player and 4. I think we managed 3-player max playing Micro Machines 2.
Nice.
I think I told about this when like the auto because the auto acceleration, all kind of shenanigans happen.
Also, oh yeah, this is a big one. Untitled Goose game. I think that's kind of become its unofficial title, but I think it's just like, does it just not have a title for real, or is it?
It's one of those meme games.
Yeah. And apparently it's really caught on. Like, I've seen some gameplay of it, and it does look pretty hilarious. Just pick it up and just be annoying. Just, like, grab people's shoes and stuff, and they chase you, and they're like, hey, whatever, and they, like, rip the item back out of your beak and just toss you somewhere, and then you can try it again. It's like, the whole game is just being, like, kind of annoying.
I know, like scaring people with quacks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I do know, I know that like these kind of games are like what was that game called? Goat Simulator.
Yeah, Goat Simulator is more just like be stupid with the environment. Goose Game is a more polished product. It's just like the idea of what you're supposed to be doing is pretty funny. Whereas with Goat Simulator, it's like, I bet you didn't know we had aliens in this game. Look at this weird shit. So, like, they're both wacky, but for different reasons. I also remember with Goat Simulator, the devs specifically stated that unless there are glitches that, like, interfere with gameplay or break the game, they're not going to fix glitches because it's funnier that way. So, like, I just got a
I
kick
do
out
know
of that.
that apparently there is a Warhammer for the fantasy reference in it.
Wow. All right.
Call it
Did not know that. Oh, are you talking about goat or goose?
Goat Simulator.
Okay, yeah,
There is
I could
something
believe
called
that
the
more with
goat.
goat than with goose.
I think there is something called the goat thrown in it.
Okay.
Anyway, uh, well, if people like this sort of little small time wasters, well, it's okay for them. I personally looking for something for more refined. I'm still
Well,
waiting
that'll
for.
be goose, goose over goat in that case.
Uh,
The thing
I'm
with Goose
still like.
Simulator is like that is definitely a game I would like to play, but like 15, $16 seems a little much. If that ever goes on sale, then I'll probably pick it up. But like if it like just it watch any like watch the trailer of the game, watch any clip of it. You know exactly what you're gonna get. Like that's the game, and it looks quite funny. Oh, this was an interesting one. This just really threw me off. Monster Hunter World has a crossover with another franchise. This is
Yes,
not the first time Monster Hunter's done this. There's been like a Devil May Cry crossover with one of them.
yes, I know that that people saying that Monster Hunter World will absorb all the other 3C Capcom franchises
Yeah,
and everything. And yes, I've seen the Resident Evil 2
yeah, exactly.
crossover.
It's the new Resident Evil 2 with Claire and I think Leon and I think Mr. X is in there.
Yes,
And
you
it's like
get.
what really cracked me up is it did the Resident Evil logo thing. It was like you see the big logo of Monster Hunter World, and then in Hunter the or excuse me
The
in
R and the E, the lights
yeah,
up
the
there.
R and the E are lit up to make RE. I forgot exactly how it worked because it's like ER, but like I forgot what they
Resident
did to
Evil.
make it make sense, but I got a kick out of that.
Mm.
It was like how they did. I think this was just for the trailer, but for the Devil May Cry thing in the previous Monster Hunter game, you see Dante cooking up his meat on the spit, and it says Dante must dine instead of Dante must die. I was like, and yeah,
I don't know, like these are all very silly, like these are little events.
oh
But
yeah.
honestly, I think the best one that gelled is still was the Witcher one. Maybe I'm saying maybe because I had a little bit of bias toward the Witcher, but I shouldn't because I'm not playing the game.
Well, speaking of bias, I mean, here's something America kind of didn't get. There was some, maybe it was like a war, like I was gonna say Warhammer. I don't mean 40K. I mean like a war hammer, a hammer that you use to hit things in Monster Hunter.
Yep.
Like it like strangely like heals things when you hit it. And in Japan, it was like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4, like Crazy Diamond crossover thing. And they also had like an Attack on Titan crossover thing. And America, like, I think they got that stuff, but not as those franchises. So I was like, oh. But I thought that was pretty amusing. So, and like Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker crossed over with Monster Hunter as well. Although that was not Snake showing up in Monster Hunter, that was Monster Hunter showing up in a couple of levels of Peace Walker. So there's just
Ah,
randomly a couple of Metal Gear Solid levels where you're just shooting a Monster Hunter monster with like your rocket launcher, like a stinger. It felt
yeah,
so weird. And the
that's very,
final
very.
boss was unique to Peace Walker. It's Gear. It was Gear Rex, not Metal Gear Rex, Gear Rex. So it's like a biological giant monster thing. It was terrifying. It was kind of fantastic. So I mean, so that was Peace Walker. Of course I'm not exactly sure what Monster Hunter and Resident Evil is going to entail, other than what little I saw in the trailer. But it's just amusing to see, like,
Mm, I
a
think this is the
cop.
silly.
Hmm?
I think will be the silly update, the silly DLC.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, just look at what it is. Like, what are you gonna do? Go after him with your pistol? Like, I guess you get a rocket launcher at the end of Resident Evil, but you never had really like kaiju designed weapons for these things. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll be ridiculous. Capcom loves its fan service. Monster Hunter's Capcom, Resident Evil's Capcom, so they know all the ins and outs of these series, so they can play with them as they see fit. I get a kick out of just the concept of it.
What I liked about Witcher crossover that was more plausible. Like literally Geralt ending up in a different world was something that could happen.
I mean, Geralt makes a literal living out of fighting monsters. I can buy that.
He's not actually he's not just fighting monsters. He's a delegator as well. Like he doesn't kill for.
No, that's true. But like in The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 1, actually, your first boss enemies are like oversized monsters.
Yeah,
I know that's not what he's doing all the time.
Fight various wyverns and griffins in the.
Oh sure, I mean I know that's not Geralt's primary job, but like, if he sees a Monster Hunter monster, he'll probably be like, oh, that's bigger than I'm used to. Like, but oh well.
Just basic, probably would do his usual song and dance of studying and fighting.
Yeah, finding out which potions to drink.
I kind of do like the Monster Hunter monsters, like as a little critters. I don't like to hurt those type of creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So like to me, the Monster Hunters are not that appealing in that sense.
You know, what does kind of amuse me is both Geralt and the Monster Hunter characters would know what level they're going into and drink potions accordingly. There's like the anti-freeze or the anti-heat drinks in Monster Hunter, and there's like
oils and what is it, like raid oils and such.
Yeah, and like protection from X type of attack from Witcher monsters. I still haven't played Witcher 3, but I got 1 and 2.
I think I think Geralt would have the upper hand considering he has the Axii.
Yeah, that's true.
The mind spell. Like just point at one of the like big monsters, and they go rolling on their back and doing easy bicycle with their legs.
Pretty much. I mean, he's done stuff. I mean, not that exaggerated, but yeah, that's in his wheelhouse. Anyway, this game was a bit of a surprise. Red Dead Redemption 2 is announced for PCs in November. I know that people have been clamoring for Red Dead Redemption 1 for PC for like probably since its release, just for years and years. I still don't know anything about that, but 2 is going to PC, and that itself is going to make, I think, a lot of people very, very happy. Not everybody has a PS4 or an Xbox One. I mean, I know not everybody has a gaming PC either, but this is more options, which is kind of nice. And if it's going to be on PC, then I would not be surprised if, well, mods are going to happen, but I mean, even outside of that, stuff like frame rate limit unlocking and all sorts of little tweaks people can come up with that I think will probably be interesting.
Even more realistic is shrinking horse balls.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was my that I wasn't gonna buy the game before, but then I learned about that detail that no one would have noticed if they hadn't said anything, and then I was like, oh man, I'm buying this game day one. Actually, I never did buy the game. The only Rockstar game that's like that. I've never owned a Grand Theft Auto or a Red Dead. I've only played through LA Noire. I've played other games that have the Rockstar logo on them, but not their sandbox games. And I was happy with LA Noire because it's a sandbox game, but not really. You're only really supposed to be in like this small area. And it directs you anyway. There's actually been gameplay footage for the Jojo arcade game. Although I've talked about this before, I haven't really followed this because it's a Battle Royale style game and it's an arcade game, so like, when am I going to play this? I'll almost certainly not be able to record it, and I don't care for multiplayer-only experiences, so it's cool that this game exists. I'd be more interested in watching somebody else play it, though, I think. But they've shown...
Can you imagine a fight between the Vampire Dio and Diablo? Like, time stops everywhere.
Oh, God. Actually, in Eyes of Heaven, in Eyes of Heaven, the PS4 like Power Stone style JoJo game, Dio and Pucci, the Part 6 guy, have like a double special move with each other where Dio freezes time and then throws his knives like he does in the actual manga and anime. But when he unfreezes time, the knives continue to fly at the opponent when they're probably too close to dodge. Pucci sees this and quickly reacts with Made in Heaven, which greatly speeds up time. So Dio's throwing the knives, time resumes when the knives are right there, and Poochie makes the knives go even faster. Like, I don't think you were going to dodge anyway, but there's no freaking chance now. And then Dio looks over at Poochie, he's like, nice. Like, it's pretty great. I also very much like the Dio teaming up with Dio Super, Part 1 and Part 3 Dio, where Part 1 shoots... Oh, no, it was Part 3 Dio, I think, Muda's a little bit, and Part 1... like shoots his eye lasers. Dio part 3 freezes time, Muda's, and then unfreezes time and moves his head out of the way of his younger self's eye lasers, which then hit the opponent. It's like, yes. And they both because you gotta do that. It's freaking great. Yeah. But yeah, so Jojo arcade game. Then there's Umihara Kawase. Where you're playing as the fisher, picking up fish. There's a multiplayer game coming out for that, which is just an interesting concept. So the game's not out yet. There's just a trailer for it. But this time it is up to a 4-player multiplayer experience where you're trying to clear stages. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but it's coming out for PS4, Switch, and PC. It'll be a while, though. Summer 2020.
Yeah.
So
can you hook up
cool.
someone else's cheek with the fishing hook?
I don't know if that's an option. This remains yet to be seen. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention regarding the JoJo Battle Royale, the gameplay footage that is available now is for Jotaro in particular. So like, what else? How do other people play? I don't know yet. Because the thing with JoJo is even if you know everybody's stand abilities and stuff, how are you going to be able to play with them in this kind of context? Like. Endul, the guy who, like the blind man who sits there and has his water stand do everything, he's playable in the Power Stone style Eyes of Heaven game. So it's like,
I know, it's like,
what?
He doesn't see anything, and like you have to literally sit down and listen.
Oh yeah, that's what's super creative is like you can see because the player has to be able to see something. But like if you ever break out the stand, then the opponents become invisible, and you only see them if they run or jump around. You get little flickers of them because you hear them. It's kind of brilliant.
But otherwise, his stand is devastating.
His stand is terrifying, but if you can get past it and fight Endul, he literally just sits there and can't defend himself. If you turn the stand off, he can kind of defend himself, but he's really slow walking around because he's not running around and doing jumps like he's a blind man. Otherwise, this is something that came as a bit of a surprise to me. Corpse Party Blood Drive, the conclusion to the main Corpse Party series, which consists of the original game, I guess the remake of the original game on PSP called Blood Covered. There's Book of Shadows, there is the relatively recently released Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday, and finally there's Blood Drive, which was originally released on the Vita. That is coming out on PC and Switch. I'm kind of surprised by both of these. I know Nintendo has had, especially the original Corpse Party, it has like probably the definitive edition on 3DS because it contains an extra episode. Book of Shadows, I forgot. Like, I know that it and Hysteric Birthday are on PC. I don't know about other platforms, though. And Blood Drive has never been ported, as far as I'm aware, until, quote, now. Like, it's not out yet, but it's coming, which is pretty amazing. So if you've ever wanted to conclude the saga on not the Vita, then now is your chance, I guess. That'll be pretty interesting. My big question is, are the load times going to be better? Because when you picture Corpse Party, I don't think you generally imagine loading times, but there were some rooms in Blood Drive that were like 10 to 15 seconds to load. To be fair, they were the big rooms that were pretty rare, but like, you're playing a freaking Corpse Party game, and there's insane load times between screens. It just doesn't feel right. But
insane load times. Says the guy who never tried to load the Pentium 2.
Yeah. Like, if you play the original Corpse Party, you could tell it's a remake of an RPG Maker game.
I know. I've seen your walkthroughs.
Oh, yeah. I still haven't played the original version. I'd like to get on that. But, like, even the PSP game, like, just look at this. There's not going to be load times. And then Book of Shadows is a visual novel. There's not going to be load times. Yep. Hysteric Birthday, I haven't played it, but I think it's also visual novel style. Blood Drive, there is more going on, but some of those load times are pretty rough. And it was only ever made for one system, like the Vita. Like that's the definitive edition because it's the only edition. So I wonder if these ports are going to be better. Like I was recently watching a speed run of Katamari Damacy Rerolled, which was available on PC and Switch. And oh my god, dude, it's a remake of the original Katamari game, but the load times are like non-existent. Like entering and leaving levels, like there is just no wait time. It's crazy. Whereas you would have a loading screen with the king spouting out stupid like long letters and words out of his mouth on the PS2. That is just gone on the remake. So like I'm curious as to whether the PC and Switch releases will improve the ability of Blood Drive to run. I don't know. I'm curious.
I do know. As time goes, generally optimizations happen. So hopefully.
That is true. I mean, like probably
also the Vita was not a. I didn't hear too much good about the Vita.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, optimization is definitely a thing. Like my go-to examples for thinking about how that works is like comparing like on the PS2, Xenosaga 1 and Xenosaga 3, just even the visuals. Or probably an easier one to look into is Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 3 because they're both on the PS3. Like the graphics in Uncharted 1, it looks a little waxy compared to PS3. And Uncharted 1 was also 720p, and even 2 also was, but 3 was 1080. I mean, now they're all released on the PS4 and they've been optimized, but like you can tell a difference in visuals. Or like Demon Souls and like Dark Souls 1, like even then, it's not a big jump, but you can still definitely tell things have changed, which is pretty interesting. Or actually, this is a reference that no one will understand, but like King's Field 1 versus King's Field 3, just like there's definitely an improvement, which is pretty amusing to me. I just like it. Otherwise,
any more releases?
I'm sorry?
Any more releases?
Why? I'm glad you asked. This is a weird one. Arcade Archives Karate Champ is coming out on Switch. Yes. Okay. My favorite game ever made, Karate Champ. I mean, it's another one of those games where like I'm happy principle that it's coming out, but it's like I'm not going to play this.
Honestly, I'm waiting for an International Karate remake. That was a good versus game.
I don't know that one.
International Karate was one of our favorite games for the Commodore. It was literally a like one action button game where you have to use like directions and you combine to make specific moves.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of like dive kick in a little sense. That if you hit your enemy 1 point, then they down.
Okay.
And there is multiple moves, not just dive kicks, but you could like do like stomach punches, high jump kicks.
Okay.
Warriors, low punch, house punch. And the other character you could also block, but it was rather difficult. And there was even a sequel to it, I think, where you could fight with 2 other players, like so that it was a free on free.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, not free on free, like it was a free versus.
Okay, so it would be 1-on-1, but then like player 1 wins, player 2 loses, so player 3 gets on to fight player 1 like tournament style.
No, tandem, like 1-on-1.
Oh, okay.
And like one of the 4 favorite moves was like one of the jumping moves was like jumping up and like doing a splits in the air and like kicking 2 ways, kicking in 2 directions.
Oh, I gotcha. I'm trying to think of examples where I've seen that, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you could like kick down, and like the music for it was by I think Rob Hubbard, not the scientist but the musician, and well, not scientist, the Scientologist, and it's one of the like legendary soundtracks.
That's pretty rad. You said Commodore?
Yes, Commodore 64.
Commodore generally, like from what I've heard, like from a few games of it, it does have a pretty sweet just sampling of music.
Yeah.
Like I recently heard.
I have a lot, I can tell.
Yeah, like I recently heard some stuff from like The Last Ninja, which was also on the NES, but the Commodore version is pretty rad.
Interestingly, one of the well-known music in Last Ninja 2, for example, I think is a remake of Tangerine Dreams. Like one of the melodies from Tangerine Dreams song.
That name sounds familiar, but I forgot what that is.
It's a sort of this uh, progressive rock, I think it would be called.
Okay.
And
well,
what else is there?
Well, I mean, like, this is just one of my go-to examples just because I learned about it in college, but Weird Dreams has a rockin' soundtrack, and the Commodore version puts some serious drums on it. It's pretty nice.
I know that one of my favorite musics in Commodore is from Katakis, which is an R-Type clone.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
And Cybernoid.
That name sounds familiar.
Actually, more Cybernoid 2, which is by Jorentel.
Yeah, I definitely don't know the music from those, but that name sounds familiar, at least Cybernoid does.
I will link it up after we're done.
Yeah, fair enough.
And what I wanted, other thing was, I saw a trailer that I didn't believe that people pulled out such an old IP.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up Gungrave, of all things, and there is a sequel coming out of Gungrave Gore.
Yeah, what was the last Gungrave game? Like, I think there was a VR version on PS4, but before that, it's like, what, PS2 or something?
There was Gungrave Overdose, and now Gungrave.
Gungrave was one of those things where I think it was a game first, and then an anime adaptation came out later.
Gungrave came out in 2002. Gungrave, the anime, came in 2003.
Yeah, there you go.
Overdose came out in 2004. So for 1 year from each apart.
That's pretty amazing.
And by style, for those who didn't know the game, it's a gun 'em up, I would call it. You basically playing an undead, not undead, so it's chemically resurrected hitman and bodyguard who is excellent at wrecking shit.
Yeah,
he is like beyond grave is a boss. Even like while he was alive, he was a boss. While he's dead, he's even bigger boss. Like he's he carries this massive like coffin, like is a gun on his back, like that weighs a ton, and he just lugs it around like it's nobody's business.
Nice.
And he's like doing like crazy equilibrium style, is a arm waving gun shooting where he like cleans out entire rooms of people with just spray of bullets. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, Gungrave does seem pretty like delightfully excessive. And so was that trailer for Gore, by the way. I mean, it was only cinematic; you don't see gameplay, but like, it looked like an anime movie.
To me, when I seen the guy with the glasses,
yeah,
like I was like, oh, because I know who that character is. I'm not spoiling it now because I recommend for those people to watch the anime first, then play or watch the two games.
Yeah,
the anime and the first game kind of differs in the story and few visual representation, but it's actually a very heartfelt Omerta story.
Because I don't know what the story was at all. I just know someone was trying to get into some facility and then there's fighting.
It's a mafia story, but it's kind of bittersweet.
Okay. Otherwise, only really have, I think, a couple other things to mention. One of them is a big deal. Like, I have not been talking about this with the week-to-week developments. I mentioned it back in, like, February or March. But former Funimation voice actor Vic Mignogna, who's done a ton of stuff, probably most notably Edward Elric, the main character of Fullmetal Alchemist.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and Broly in the Dragon Ball Z Broly movies.
Honestly, I'm I'm on the side that he was forced, maliciously accused, if you allow me to say this.
Over the course of a decade, though. This has not just come up right now.
I heard that, first he didn't show up on the hearing, and second, his lawyer completely ballsed up the entire thing.
That was the whole thing. Like, whatever you think about Vic, his lawyer is a fucking idiot who, basically did everything wrong that you could do wrong. But in any case, the most recent update is basically the court stuff is over. It said that, because, nobody took Vic to court, Vic took other people to court. There was the whole thing of accusations, but that's all that
Yes.
was. But
Well,
Vic sued a bunch of people for defamation.
Well, obviously, because like he was accused of being touchy-feely with people, but like he was like hugging people, but he wasn't like too overly intimate people. Like he was just very friendly.
Well, no, he wasn't overly intimate, but a lot of people were uncomfortable by being hugged without like asking for it. It's like a little weird, especially when he's like 50 something and you're like 14.
Apparently, like those people he hugged was like given consent, like they asked for it. Like,
well, yeah, well, for those that did, like they're not the ones complaining.
And I heard a couple of other news. I don't know if it's worth sharing here at now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a stinker right now. This is a mess. And
oh yeah, I mean, like what had happened most lately is, well, okay, I'll start with the second most lately thing. He had 17 claims of, it doesn't have a list of all of them, but like defamation, tortious interference, because tort is a thing, conspiracy. So 12 of those claims were thrown out like in about 10 seconds. It was like embarrassing.
Yeah.
And now, like a couple, well, I mean, I say now, but like on the 4th, October 4th, the rest of the claims were dismissed with prejudice. And if you don't know what that means, if claims are dismissed without prejudice, it means that at some point in the future they can be like retaken to court for maybe like a re-examination. With prejudice means like, no, this is over forever. Like, we're never seeing this again.
Yeah. I'm worrying that he's going to do something to himself, because his career is pretty much been driven into a wall and not by his hands.
Yeah, it's a mess. Like Funimation had let him go, Rooster Teeth let him go. Like it's not a good time to be him right now.
Yeah, that said, like both of those companies, both Funimation and Rooster Teeth, is on like ups, like they standing on a frame that made from Split Stick and Pringles, so they are not going to have more fun either. I think Rooster Teeth is going to be absorbed by Warner Brothers, and that's one thing you don't want to be absorbed by.
Yeah, that would be a shame. Although, speaking of Rooster Teeth, though, Vic Mignogna had also voiced Crow on the show Ruby.
I heard, but I didn't watch that show religiously because some of the characters, it made me want to claw out my eardrums.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, season 1 was a little shaky, but I quite like the show. But the character has been replaced by somebody else, and like you could tell it's not Vic Mignogna, but like he does a really damn good job doing a Vic Mignogna style Crow impression. I was waiting for it to like not even try being the same. Like my first anime ever was Slayers. I love Slayers, but like there's this one character who shows up in like one of the first 2 episodes named Zelgadis. He's one of the main characters of the series, but
the stone guy, I know.
Yeah, the stone guy. He's one of the main characters of the series, but you don't know like at first because it's like, is he a villain? You know, it's like well, it's not like Vegeta. Vegeta just was directly a villain for a while until he finally
he had an agenda that was crossing with the main character.
Yeah, but Zelgadis, like, he had a voice kind of like this. And then he was just out of the show for a while, and at least in the English dub, he like his voice actor was eventually replaced by Crispin Freeman, and that was Crispin Freeman's first ever role. And like I said, like he didn't even try sounding like the old one. He just did his own thing. So he was like, "Hey everybody, like I'm so like it was like completely." I was like, "What happened?" Like I love Crispin Freeman, but that was
Alucard, if I'm correct, right?
I'm sorry.
Crispin Freeman is Alucard, if I'm correct.
That is correct. And like, I love Crispin Freeman is one of my favorite voice actors. Yep. But like that was a very jarring change because like you see Zelgadis in the first few like episodes of the show, and then he comes back like over halfway through the series and he has a completely different voice. It's like out of nowhere. Like you get used to it, but it throws you off at first. So I was wondering if they would do that for Crow, Nope. The guy does a really damn good Crow. It's kind of like the new Samurai Jack, because Mako, the voice actor for Aku, died.
Died.
The new voice
They had
actor, you can definitely tell it's not Mako, but he does a really good job. Like, he does talk the way Aku has always talked. Clearly a
this
different voice, like
brings
it's a different sound, but it's the same delivery. I was quite impressed.
Yep. This brings me up a different thing I was thinking, that you do realize that when John St. Jones dies,
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
brings
Most famously, the voice actor for Duke Nukem. Yeah,
Duke Nukem. He brings Duke Nukem into the grave with him. So
yeah. I mean, there are people who can do a
and
damn good Duke Nukem impression, but like John St. John's been doing this for like 30 years. It's like he's Duke
yeah,
Nukem. It's like
and
Mark Hamill. Other
what
people have been the Joker, but it's like, yeah, but Mark Hamill's been the Joker forever.
and lately more and more shit has been came out from Gearbox, and I'm like, even like, I think that the recently was that, like, you, I don't know if you heard that there was a little stink about that. They, like, I think Gearbox released on Steam sort of this Duke Nukem World Tour remake, and they used the music for it, and apparently the music was only landed for the original game,
Oh, I
so the
did hear
artist
about this.
released.
Yeah, didn't like 3D Realms sue or something, or they at least
I don't.
complained.
The musician complained,
That's what it was.
and
Okay,
I think like Gearbox and Steam got a slap on the wrist for it.
okay.
But honestly, I really wish they could manage to like just pull out the Duke Nukem license
Yeah.
from under
Well,
Gearbox, because
there are.
they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They just squandered it.
Yeah, well, there are so many things like that I find really frustrating. Is when like people want to release a game and they can't because the rights belong to various different people. It's just such a pain in the ass. Like Mega Man Legends 1 and 2, like they couldn't release that on PSN for a long ass time because the rules for for Sony for the PS1 games was that like all the rights of whatever have to be maintained, and there's like brand name stuff in Mega Man Legends, so they had to like renew or re-sign like copyright agreements with vendors of like drinks for drink machines and stuff like that in order to get Mega Man Legends out. Like I don't think the Yakuza games have those rules because those were like PS2 and up, but like look at how much real life shit is in especially the newer Yakuza games. There is so much brand name stuff that'll make your head spin. Like if you want to play, like if you want to download Yakuza to like the PlayStation 7, like I don't know what you're gonna have to do. It's gonna be the weirdest thing.
Oh boy.
Like just imagine, like Yakuza 6 has Paul Lim, like the real life, like Singaporean. I don't know if that's the right word, but the guy from Singapore, like world champion of darts. It's like that. Like, are you gonna have to re-sign rights with him later on? Like, there's a real life gym in Yakuza 6. There's 1,000 brand names of drinks. Although that'll probably be easier to maintain because they've been there since like Yakuza 2 and maybe Yakuza 1. But like, there's just so much shit there. It's like unreal. I don't know if those same prohibitive rules are there for the PS2 and onward, but they were for PS1, and it was why Mega Man Legends took forever to be released, and like Misadventures of Trombone. Last thing I'll mention, I can't talk about this much because I haven't yet seen it, but the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix is out, and I know that the movie's been getting a lot of controversy based on its trailer and Todd Phillips being a piece of shit, but from what I've heard from the people who've actually watched the movie, they quite enjoyed it, and
Yeah, I heard good
yeah,
things.
and one of the biggest perks of this movie is that it is not part of the shitty DC like bigger universe, because those movies have
No,
mostly
it's
been
a
bad.
thing of its own.
Exactly. So it's not like Batman versus Superman. Wonder Woman's been pretty good. Aquaman's been pretty good, but DC is really shaky with its bigger universe. So the Joker's like, fuck it, I'm doing my own thing, and apparently it's better off for it. So
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I heard good things.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm like I might actually want to see that. I was really shaky on it based on some of Todd Phillips' comments because the guy seems like a dude bro asshole. But like the movie does look really good though, and Todd Phillips did not make the movie by himself. So like,
Yeah. Anyway, one thing, if I make up to the last thing, I heard news that Game Workshop is teaming up to make a comic book
what's Game
for
Workshop?
Warhammer 40k.
Oh.
And it's teaming up with what? Marvel.
Oh, get out of here.
Now, many people think that this is a good thing if they would know how the sausage is made. Sadly, the Marvel comic section has been rotting away very, very, very badly.
Yeah, I've also heard they treat their employees pretty badly.
Well, it's a small sort of seclusive, and there's a lot of allying going on. Like if the wrong thing is punished very, very badly.
Okay.
So I don't know if someone like Chip Zdarsky gets the rights for the writing, then it's all right, because the guy he's not a big funny guy, but he writes drama and drama action very well.
Okay.
If we get something like Mark Waid, I don't even know.
Yeah, that's one of those things where the series is so big and is so like deeply rooted in its lore. Like you really want them to get it right. It's little things like, you know, like when you see like adaptations of like that one thing you've been following for a long time, but they get like what fans would consider basic things wrong. It's just like, oh no. Like it's what a lot of people said about season 8 of Game of Thrones. All of a sudden they were like, fuck it, let's just do this stupidest ending ever. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, I heard things.
Yeah, I won't go into specifics, but like the ending felt rushed, probably because it was actually rushed. Because the creators of the show were like, oh, we have a chance to do Star Wars, we better end this Game of Thrones show. And it's like, oh no. A lot of cliche, poorly written stuff happened.
Like, Game Workshop actually had comics on its own.
Oh.
And yeah, there are a few visual novels and similars.
Oh, you know what? Did those children's books ever come out?
They came out and they're apparently doing well, but it's kind of like a sort of this milquetoast version of the whole thing.
Well, of course.
Where obviously the way how like a tyranny devour gun works is not described very detailed, because you don't want to hear how a ball of rotting flesh and pus is hit.
Yeah, like what do you want?
So the tiny parasitic worms inside it don't burrow into someone's skull and eat their entire nervous system.
Yeah.
That's not something about a children's book.
Yeah, that's a little much for little Timmy. Yeah.
The other worrying thing is that if this thing goes well, it might pick up the attention of the mouse.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't know how, but can you imagine Disney buying Games Workshop? What?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna make a movie of them, like, go for it. But like, even though Marvel and stuff like that and Disney have been producing really good movies, like, I just really wish they'd stop buying every fucking company. It makes me uncomfortable.
So yeah,
like, I don't want the entire planet to be owned by Amazon and Disney.
Not to mention, like, what I heard that the Star Wars park in Disney are doing very, very poorly.
Oh yeah, I heard that the response to that was like shutting down some of the parades and stuff like that. It's like, how about you stop making your park so fucking prohibitively expensive instead of making the park less interesting to the people who are actually showing up,
and make it something that they are familiar with, and not just everything new is put out and trying to be merchandised because we made it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's very easy to go like, oh, Star Wars is huge. I want Star Wars. Like, okay, but can you do a good job with it though? Apparently they can, but like don't punish the fans who are going to your park. Like, again, like, stop charging like an entire freaking year's salary to go to an amusement park. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, like, I will be following this with keen eye. I think I have following two YouTubers who one follows Marvel Comics, the other follows Warhammer diligently, and and apparently it will come out like next month.
Oh,
so
okay.
I will be paying attention. I'm curious because like a good Warhammer comic would be like I don't know. You've seen a few like sort of artwork.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Like,
I think I'd be most interested in seeing like the ships and the cities.
There are art of both, and I'm fairly sure they're going to be drawn. I'm curious who's going to be like the inker and the colorer of
Oh,
these things, because
sure. You know,
like the art you see on these things on the actual like made art are like on the level of Boris Vallejo, like battle scenes of birds and guns firing and
you,
blood and
you
gore
know,
splattered,
well, I was gonna say regarding
stopped
all
in time.
that, like regarding all the violence, I actually think it would be the wrong aesthetic and probably a bad idea, but I'd be very interested to see what Alex Ross would do with it.
Who's Alex Ross again?
Alex Ross was like the super realistic, like it looks like it could be a movie poster style of art.
Hmm.
Like if you look up his art, you'll know it when you see it. He has very grand looking art. I actually don't think it would be great for Warhammer, except for like the cover of an issue or something. But I'm just always interested in seeing what he would do. It wasn't even a fair comment for me to say. It's like
Huh.
name a thing, and I want to see Alex Ross do something with
Wait,
it.
this isn't his work for Marvel and DC. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, maybe I don't know who will be the artist. Nothing is revealed yet.
Like when I picture Alex Ross, I picture like the Justice League standing there dramatically posing, or like
Yeah.
Superman with his hands on his hips, like I'm Superman, like that kind of art. He like it lends itself very well to his style.
Yeah, I could imagine like grand design for it. But yeah, like this is something I'm gonna follow. I might go into detail if anything changes, if anything comes up. I will be curious.
Yeah, sure. Well,
Oh,
anyway, I believe that's the show for this week. So please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement keeps the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. And finally, if you would like to follow me on my YouTube channel, there's that, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon accounts, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
and you can find me on Skype, Steam, and on Discord on Lair of the Crocosphere and the Gaston Satorven. You
Marvelous. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Good evening, everyone.